All right. Good evening, everybody. Just give me a quick thumbs up. Let me know you can hear me okay, please. Just checking the sound, make sure everything's okay. All right. Thank you, Denise. Should give like a prize away for the and you gave me the thumbs up too, so thanks for the thumbs up. That's probably Eddie's idea. Oh, Maurice, look at all these thumbs up. That's phenomenal. All right. Thank you all. We'll go ahead and get started. You can all join palms and repeat after me. I take refuge in the Buddha. I take refuge in the Dharma. I take refuge in the Sangha. And keeping the palms joined. And you can put the palms down. All right. Good evening, everyone. Good to be with you all. My name is Jeff. Welcome to Intro to Buddhism and Meditation. I appreciate you taking the time. I always like to start with a question just to kind of help people settle in a little bit and communicate with each other and give some time for others to jump on before we start the meditation practice. So I think this question really is around the practice of right speech, which really one of the core teachings of Buddhism. When you look at the Eightfold Path and you have the correct views, thoughts, speech, action, livelihood, effort, mindfulness, concentration. Right speech to me also, when you look at it, it really breaks down in the precepts from a morality standpoint and kind of moral, ethical conduct, looking at, are the words you choose, are they honest? Are they necessary? Are they timely? And the reason I bring this up is in a little bit of a different, I think, way that most people I hear explore right speech, but there's often this, I think, idea or misconception for those who might be new to Buddhism that being Buddhist means that you're just silent and don't speak up or don't say anything. And it's really not the case. Thich Nhat Hanh, the great Vietnamese Zen monk, Martin Luther King nominated him for a Nobel Peace Prize for his work with social justice in the 60s. And Buddhist practice to me is not about removing yourself from the world, but really engaging and but being very mindful and compassionate and wise, ideally, when you engage with folks. So the reason I bring all this up is just the question I have for you tonight is when you find yourself in a situation where you feel you should speak up, how easy is it for you to do? And are you able to do it with this sense of kind of honesty and integrity and authenticity that really speak to the challenge you're facing. It's kind of a wordy question. I'll try to simplify it, but my main point is just to help us understand that Buddhist practice is not about staying silent. Um, it's using your words to be able to communicate very effectively ideas that you have and possibilities for creating change. But I think to simplify it, and I'll type this in here, when faced with difficulties, how easy is it for you to speak up? And when you speak up, can you do it with kindness? So I'll type that in here. When faced with difficulties, I'll just say challenges, how easy is it for you to speak up? Can you speak up with kindness? When faced with difficulties, how easy is it for you to speak up, and can you speak up with kindness? So somewhere on your screen there'll be a chat box. Feel free to just type in your responses, as brief or as lengthy as you would like. Again, the question is, when faced with challenges, how easy is it for you to speak up? And when you speak up, can you speak with kindness? Again, I just based on a few dialogues I've had recently, really trying to get people, or help people, I should say, understand that Buddhist practice doesn't mean you become, a doormat or a pushover, and that you just remain silent to things that are happening in the world. And when you have these things arise, these challenges, again, how easy is it for you to just address them and speak to them? It's a lot easier for some than others, and that's why I bring this up. And when you are faced with challenges that really trigger you, can you keep your, and this is a whole nother question, but I'm just kind of rambling here to give you some time. Can you speak up in a way that is not coming back with anger or driven by these raw emotions, but can you control your emotions? So yeah, just some thoughts on that. And I think it's a wonderful practice to learn to speak up and speak loudly for your beliefs, but to do it, like I said, with some kindness and some compassion for others who are involved. So, all right. So, Lena, I just had this happen a couple of days ago. I tried my best to speak from my heart, but the other person was very disrespectful and hurtful. I had to end the conversation to avoid further pain. Yeah, definitely that's going to occur very often when we are honest and very genuine. It doesn't mean it's going to be received well. So I cried, but I realized I had to let a person with that sort of energy go. Definitely. And I think that's really part of what this topic and exploration is about, is understanding that around right speech, that, the honest truth that we sit with and that we share sometimes will cause pain in others. And we don't want to cause pain in others, but sometimes it's going to happen. Lifelong challenge to speak up for myself, much easier to advocate for clients, and even harder to do it with dignity and kindness when I'm triggered often. Yeah, definitely. I think that's a common theme I hear, is especially for people who are in roles where they're advocating for others, to then bring that back upon ourselves is often very difficult. And again, the triggered is very difficult. When you are triggered and emotionally you have so much to share. Let's see. Often, comes out like a mess. So I'm guessing that was the rest of your sentence, Amy. All right, Denise. I don't have an issue speaking up or with kindness. It's hardest when the person is disrespectful. Definitely. Roberto, it can be very difficult for me to speak what I believe. My words are not always kind. That's a good realization, and then it's something to reflect on. Um, I was recently in a situation where I had to speak up very clearly, very directly, and share words that I knew someone didn't want to hear. Um, but to be able to do it with kindness is, I think, what we owe. Samir, injustice triggers intense feelings and anger within me. I'm professionally trained to be an advocate and counsel. However, the anger can overcome and result in nastiness. Definitely. Yes, Amy and Samir, similar backgrounds, similar experiences. Adam, I find it difficult when interacting with people stuck in their ways, but I still try my hardest to get the message across if I think it'll lead to an exchange of knowledge and understanding. Yeah, always challenged, and people are stuck in their ways, just like we are often stuck in our ways. So we just keep practicing. Marisa, the last year has provided a lot of practice on social media and in real life, so I'm getting much better at keeping my calm and speaking kindly and effectively. Far from perfect, though. Definitely a work in progress, as we always say. So, and again, the awareness is key. Michael, this is definitely not easy for me. It's been coming up a lot at work recently. It's often difficult to challenge the people pleaser in me, but I do it on a regular basis. Yeah, then there's that whole thing where we're often afraid to share certain things because of the repercussions or the views that might have back on us. So always a challenge. Hi, Jeff, Lila, hello. I find that if I'm angry, putting my response on hold allows me to respond mindfully, being assertive over aggressive. Yeah, it's great. If we can pause and allow us to sit with responses before being triggered, gives us time to kind of view it and reflect without getting so wrapped up emotionally. All right, one more here. Joe, I usually listen more than speak up, but find myself being too honest sometimes and offends people from time to time. Yeah, it's a challenge that I think we're all faced with, that the honesty sometimes will offend people. And I think part of this practice is always looking at what's the intention behind our words, and is our intention to cause pain and suffering, or is our intention to bring kindness and compassion? So great thoughts. Good to see and hear everybody sharing. So with that, we'll go ahead and we'll start with a meditation practice. We can maybe come back to that later, or we'll see where the rest of the time together goes. But a couple things to tell you before we begin, especially for those who are new. Nothing's going to happen to you, right? You're not going to float away. You won't have any mystical, magical experiences. The mind won't shut off. Don't judge your practice. Often we get wrapped up in wondering, am I doing this right? Am I doing this wrong? We're just going to sit. We're going to breathe. You'll hear sounds inside the room, sounds outside. This is life. Life is filled with chaos. And this practice is learning to get quiet and still within all the chaos. So don't expect anything from this. Posture, if you're sitting on a cushion, it often helps slide into the front third, pushing the stomach forward. Allows the back to straighten. Shoulders can be relaxed. Hands are on the knees or on the lap, whatever's comfortable. If you're on a chair or whatever you're sitting on, also just trying to keep yourself somewhat upright. Eyes will be closed if comfortable, or slightly open. Mouth is open or closed. I will guide us as we begin, and we'll settle into a little bit of silence. And starting with the eyes closed or slightly open, mouth open or closed. We'll start with taking 3 deep breaths slowly. And eventually settling into a natural rhythm of the breath. Noticing the mind as it wanders, jumping from thought to thought. We'll start with gently guiding the attention and focus to the stomach or chest. Breathing in, feel them rise. Breathing out, they fall. Simply continue this practice, observing sensation of breath. And as the mind wanders, lost in thought, recognize it, release that thought, return attention, focus to the breath. letting go of expectations, letting go of judgments from the practice, just sitting, breathing. Learning to be comfortable in stillness, in quiet, where's your mind? Lost in thought, return attention, focus to the breath. keeping the mind alert, aware of each sound, each thought, each physical sensation, yet concerned with nothing but sitting, breathing. And with the body still and rested, and the speech quiet, aware of all sounds, and the mind learning to settle, know what it's like to just sit and breathe. Knowing with each breath, there's nothing else to do. Nowhere else to go. No one else to be. Everything beautiful, exactly as it is. Sitting, breathing. And once again, taking 3 deep breaths slowly. And as you slowly open the eyes, slowly begin to move. And most important, with the practice of meditation, is to recognize how you feel now, immediately after. Compare this to how you typically feel throughout your day. Recognize the difference, if there is one. And ask yourselves how you prefer to feel every day for the rest of your life. And realize however you feel now, if it's quiet, calm, and still, or a busy mind, racing mind, whatever you're sitting with at this moment, it's nothing to do with anything I said. It's nothing to do with how you sit, hold the hands or cross the legs. It's nothing to do with the sounds around us or anything else for that matter. It has everything to do with your own mind and your own mind's reaction to an external condition. This is what the Buddha called pratitya samutpata, means dependent origination. This is the basis of the Buddha's awakening. The word Buddha simply means awakened. He was a human being no different than any one of us who began to understand why he suffered, why he got angry, sad, depressed, stressed, anxious. He began to understand the causal relationship of all phenomena. What that means very simply for all of us, regardless of where we come from or what we believe in or where we think we're going, our whole life is filled with things that happen. We react. More stuff happens, more reactions. That's it. This practice is learning what it's like to respond to something quietly, peacefully, still. Most of us respond to meditation pretty well. And the question is, how do you respond to everything else that's happening throughout your day? And so all we're working on is closing the gap to where the way you feel now is closer to how you feel always. Just as driven, motivated, productive, successful, whatever that means to you in your respective lives. But with a mind that's steady, clear, focused, distracted by nothing, disturbed by no one. It's not an easy practice. It's not necessarily fun. Meditation is free. Buddhist practice is free. It's not an escape. It's direct perception into the present moment. Once we stop trying to change, fix, control, manipulate everything and everyone around us, and we work on changing our mind and our reaction to the world around us, life gets simpler. And that's it. It is learning to be with things as they are. So with that, I will pause. And as always, I really prefer to use the time to respond to questions. Meditation, Buddhist practice, anything that's on your mind. I always would much rather respond to that than just speak on whatever's on my head. So I'll turn it over to you. And if you are new, again, welcome. There's a chat box there somewhere on your screen. Feel free to type in a question. There's no wrong questions. There's just thoughts and ideas. So I'll turn it over to you for questions. Mr. Jacob. Jake, good to see you, my brother. Hello, Jeffrey. Thank you for your walking your path and for leaving a trail. My question, what do Buddhist teachings offer on, does that say safety and contentment, impulse control? Well, let me start with impulse control. It says a lot about impulse control. There's a number of different teachings that I could reference. A couple of them very specifically. As you know, and for anyone who's new to Buddhism and maybe doesn't know, the Buddha taught that we experience a lot of dukkha, suffering in our lives. And that's the first noble truth. It's the first thing he taught. The second thing he taught is the cause of our suffering, of our dukkha, which is greed, anger, and ignorance. These are called the three poisons. We practice generosity, compassion, and wisdom to overcome greed, anger, and ignorance. The third noble truth is the ending of suffering. And that's nirvana, liberation. And the fourth is the path. That's the Eightfold Path. Having the correct views and thoughts and speech and action, livelihood, effort, mindfulness, concentration. So when we look at having impulse control, really the second noble truth, the greed, the anger, ignorance, those are kind of three very specific words that break down what is behind our craving and our desire. So often you'll hear people say that craving is the root cause of suffering. Desire is the root cause of suffering. Greed, anger, ignorance really is cravings and desires. Craving, if we look at greed, we really could interchange the word craving or desire, whichever one you want to use, but let's just say craving. So we look at greed. Well, we have a craving for more. It doesn't matter what it is. We want more food. We want more money. We want more clothes. We want more, whatever it is. There's often this craving for more. And that's the greed. The anger is unhappy with the way things are, unhappy with others, unhappy with ourselves. And so we crave things to be different. And because we crave things to be different from how they are, we get these feelings of anger. And the last one is ignorance, which we overcome with wisdom. And to me, ignorance, the way I've always understood the Buddhist teachings, is ignoring the word ignorance, to ignore life as it is, not life as we want it to be or how it should be, but life as it is. Can we view life as it is? And we have a craving to get lost in our thoughts and in our minds, and a craving to want life to be different, which can be a very practical and beneficial thing as well. Often we suffer, we want life to be different, so we work towards it. So I'm not saying that we should abandon life being different from how it is, but recognize that we're very often not okay with how things are. So impulse control, very specifically, is the craving and desire. The control piece is really taught a lot throughout Buddhist teachings, but we look very specifically at the Zen practice and referred to as guarding the senses. So Jake, I know you've, I'm sure, memorized by now the Heart Sutra. But if you look at the Heart Sutra, it references very specifically to go beyond the senses. And there's a part in the Heart Sutra that says, no eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, mind, no sight, sound, smell, taste, touch, or thought. No realm of the eye, all the way up to no realm of mental cognition. And so what this is addressing is the reality that we are driven by our senses. So when I hear impulse control, this is really what speaks loudest to me, is our attempt and very often inability to control our senses. We smell something, we want it. We taste something, we want it. We hear something, we want it. We constantly have these cravings for what we want and these aversions for what we don't want. So we are driven by our senses. And the practice of training the mind to be present with things as they are, and that's why, again, very specifically to the Zen practice, and you've seen this, I'm sure you went to the Zen Center in San Diego with DBT, and that very specific lineage within the Zen practice is you sit and you are, 6 inches away from the wall, and your eyes are gazing down at the wall, and it's just you sitting there staring at a blank wall. And the idea is that you're working on guarding the senses. The eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, mind. You're not being driven by any of that. You're just sitting with things as they are. Thoughts arise, you let them pass. Senses arise, or smells arise, you let them pass. Tastes arrive, you let them pass. Right? The sounds arise. I might have already said that. You let them pass. But the more you practice guarding your senses in a meditation, the easier it becomes to guard your senses when you're in your daily life. So it's not an easy practice. It's an incredibly difficult practice, but if we ever want to learn to gain control of our impulses throughout our days, when we have so many things, so much stimulus around us, people and places and things, right? Shiny, pretty stuff everywhere. It's really hard to control impulses then. So we have to practice controlling impulses when we're just sitting and doing absolutely nothing but staring at a wall, because it's hard then too. You'll want to no longer look at the wall. You'll want to get up. You'll want to pick up the phone. You'll want to do whatever it is. So can we practice just looking at a wall? So hopefully that's helpful. As far as safety and contentment, I think, to me, really the teachings on gratitude. Obviously, we want to be safe. We want to be protected, and contentment, having gratitude for everything that's in our lives, to try to appreciate what's in our lives. This is what, a lot of what I learned from the Buddhist teachings is, he, as a prince, had everything, and he renounced the worldly life to live as a simple wandering beggar. And he was very content with that, right? Of course, making sure they were safe and not putting themselves in ideally difficult, harmful situations, but then being just content with very minimal things. A little bit of food to eat, simple robe to wear, very simple, which is very different from how we tend to live. So hopefully that's helpful. Just some thoughts on all of that. So, other questions, thoughts, meditation, Buddhist practice, anything you're sitting with. You're welcome, Jacob. And I think we can, the idea of kind of gathering an awareness of all of our cravings and all of our desires throughout our day is a really wonderful practice. Even before we work on trying to kind of keep them under wraps or under control, just become aware of them. How much we crave to walk outside, or how much we crave to change the channel on the TV, or how much we crave to have our food taste differently, how much we crave to look a different way, or how much we crave to all these things, simple things, right? Cravings and desires are not always these grand, extreme situations. It's just simple little things, right? I mean, they created an entire, I don't even know what to call it, but think about TV, right? And the cable companies who came up with these boxes that you could just record everything and skip commercials. So they're making hundreds of millions of dollars because people crave to not watch commercials. I'm not saying I like commercials either. I'm just making the point that hundreds of millions of dollars are spent on a little device that allows us to cut out commercials. So simple things like that, right? These are not life-changing things or life-threatening things. Your life probably won't change drastically one way or the other, whether you watch commercials or fast forward through them. But our entire culture is built on craving. Every advertisement, it's all geared towards creating this environment to crave. So, other thoughts, questions? I struggle craving that second pack of peanut butter M&Ms today. Yeah, I mean, it sounds silly, but it's so true. It's the constant craving for food, for sweets. It's a huge addiction, for sugar. I know a lot of people who are they're sugar addicts, and they constantly crave it and try to keep that under control, and it's very difficult. So the cravings that we have are really pretty strong. And this isn't about thinking that cravings are good or bad or right or wrong. It's just recognizing how much we crave constantly, all day long. And if you stop and pay attention to it, it can be a little scary that you are, for the most part, this physical being roaming around all day long, craving and craving and craving something or someone or somewhere. I mean, this pandemic we're all going through is an incredible opportunity to kind of isolate a bit and become aware of all of your cravings. So, what else? Thoughts, questions? Oh, wow, we're a few minutes left. I rambled too much tonight. Marisa, I like an example you use about not getting your coffee made correctly and how that can cause such suffering. We can instead just be glad we can afford a cup of coffee. Yeah, my favorite examples, kind of like the M&Ms, are always things to do with our coffee, grocery stores, traffic, simple everyday things that many of us can relate to. And how much time, or how many times I should say, and how much time, we've ordered our Starbucks, and there's not enough pumps of whatever in it, or it's to this or it's to that, or we wanted light whip and we got heavy whip, and we wanted it's endless. We wanted a tall and they gave us a grande, or whatever it might be. And there we are complaining because they didn't make our $4 coffee the way we wanted it to be. And you're right. The idea is, can we just be grateful that we're able to afford coffee? So simple examples like that, I think, are most important for us to begin to recognize. And I always talk about the fact that, Buddhism early on is not this, it's not escaping from anything, meaning it's not going to just drastically change your life. It's going to create an environment where you can begin to look at the cause of your suffering, which means as you begin to bring Buddhist practice into your life, and then this doesn't ever stop. It's not like you do this for 6 months and stop. You do this every day of your entire life. That's what it means to practice. So every day of your life, can you recognize your levels of greed, anger, and ignorance? Right? If the idea behind Buddhist teachings is to end suffering or suffer less, and the Buddha taught that we suffer because of greed, anger, ignorance, and we should practice generosity, compassion, and wisdom to overcome the cause of suffering, then we must spend every day of our life becoming aware of the causes of our own suffering. And that is our own mind, our own greed, our own anger, our own ignorance, our own craving, our own desire. That is an every single day practice, every moment. Every time you wake up, every time you walk outside, every time you get into a car or wherever it might be, watch these things. Watch them very carefully. So, yes, the coffee. What else? We'll do one more, I think, before we wrap up here, because it's already 7:55. Time flies when you're having fun. Yeah, all of our classes, our whole schedule is online, so everything is going on the website. So all the recovery classes, everything, full schedule. Any other thoughts or questions before we wrap up? All right. And we will close with that. So we will join palms and we do a transfer of merit. May any merit gained from this practice be transferred to all beings in all directions. May all be at peace. May all be free from suffering. So a few quick announcements before you all head off. Thank you for being here. My name is Jeff. I'm a Dharma Bum. We opened the Dharma Bum Temple 14 years ago to bring Buddhist practice and meditation to local folks. Those of us who lead, we're not monks, we're not nuns, we're not gurus, we're not masters, we're not teachers, we're not looking for students. We're just practitioners. We do our best to take our understanding of Buddhist teachings and put it into terms that make sense, hopefully, to those who show up. We closed, it's coming up on a year, believe it or not. March 12th, we closed because of the pandemic. And we're still closed, and we will remain closed until we feel it's safe to bring people together. So we've transitioned a long time ago. Everything's online. Classes every night, every morning, our recovery classes, our family classes, our teenage classes, our college classes, everything is there. None of us love, again, craving and desire. We all crave and desire to be together and in person. But this is where we are. So we appreciate the fact that we have this technology. We appreciate the fact that we have the community. We appreciate the fact that we have people to lead. We appreciate the fact that we have people who show up. So this is an incredible practice to be grateful for what we have. Website, the Dharma Bums, has our whole schedule. Buddha For You also is closed, but the online store is up and running. So if you need anything there, just go to Buddha For You, and we're happy to help you out. Other than that, please be safe. Please stay home as much as possible. Please wear a mask. It's a great bodhisattva practice to do things that don't put other people at risk of getting sick. So I wish you all well. I'll see you soon, and have a good night.